This is KGW News at 11.
This is why we should be treating our seniors better. Our aging population deserve better than this. They are not cattle. They should be treated as real humans.
A senior care facility in Sandy abruptly shut down after the death of one of its residents and numerous other violations. Thanks for joining us at 11. I'm John Adams. Ashley Grahams joins us now. And Ashley, the state says residents are not safe at this facility.
Right. Mount Hood Senior Living is no longer open. The State Department of Human Services suspended their license. Now residents and their families are trying to figure out what to do next.
Mount Hood Senior Living. It's a residential and memory care facility in Sandy. 71-year-old Bonnie Everett is a resident suffering from dementia.
Bonnie is great.
But on Friday, Bonnie was forced to move out. So were all the other residents.
Floored, angry, completely frustrated. I could barely believe that this was actually happening on a Friday night.
Melissa Fisher is Bonnie's niece, shocked that the Oregon Department of Human Services had shut down Mount Hood Senior Living and suspended their license.
I know that everybody in that facility is reeling right now.
An email sent Friday afternoon told Bonnie's family that residents would be relocated by midnight that same day.
And our loved ones were literally thrown out and taken to places and not well communicated with, nor given any point of contact to help us over the weekend.
A DHS document explaining the suspension lists 7 violations, alleging the memory care facility didn't provide a safe sanitary kitchen, didn't properly train staff, and failed to safely administer medication. But the first violation says Mount Hood Senior Living did not provide a safe environment altogether. In December of 2023, this woman, a resident of the facility, wandered away from the memory care unit and was found dead a day later. Now residents and their families are left trying to decide what to do next.
How are we supposed to collectively get my aunt to a point of stability again? This has been wholly disruptive to her and to the rest of her family.
Fisher's aunt is staying in another assisted facility in Oregon City for now.
It is not easy to move somebody from one facility to another facility, and these are people who are very vulnerable, and a lot of them have really significant health problems.
Fisher says she's still waiting to hear from DHS.
Help us figure out how quickly we can resolve this in a way that honors the care needs of our aunt.
Well, a spokesperson for DHS told me that Mount Hood Senior Living has a right to fight the suspension of their license, and they can ask for a hearing. Until that plays out, the suspension and closure are temporary.
All right, Ashley, thank you. Well, now to an unsolved homicide from 2020 that's still keeping a Southwest Washington family up at night. They're pleading with the public for any help in solving the case. Sydney Dorner has the story.
Sandra Ladd was murdered right here in the Summer Slope neighborhood of Washougal, Washington. Her family has no idea why or who did it almost 3.5 years later.
It's time. We need to have some closure to this and let my aunt have justice. We want more answers. We want to be able to understand what's going on and why it's taking so long.
Over the weekend of June 12, 2020, Sandra Ladd was murdered in her home on 41st Street in Washougal, Washington.
The next thing that we know is 911 was called on June 14th, which would have been Sunday. So somehow in that time the murder took place. I'm not sure when. We haven't been told any of that detail.
Kelly says Sandra had just come back from a trip to Long Beach with her family.
She was at home. She was found at home and she had been stabbed.
Sandra was 71 at the time of her death, dedicated to her 4 children and 6 grandkids.
And she devoted all of her time and love to her children, raising them, and her grandkids. She always put everybody else first and herself last.
Ladd spent 30 years working at the Washougal School District as an administrative assistant. Kelly says someone must know something.
May have heard something. Even if they're scared, they need to come forward for the family, please, and for my aunt. We need justice.
Crime Stoppers of Oregon is assisting with the case. They're offering $2,500 in cash to anyone who gives a tip that leads to an arrest. Tips can remain anonymous. Sydney Dorner, KGW News.
Developing now in Vancouver, police are investigating a crash that killed a pedestrian on the city's northeast side. It happened on 4th Plain Boulevard near the intersection of 137th Avenue. First responders arrived just before 8 p.m. to find bystanders giving the victim CPR in the middle of the road, but the victim died on scene. Police say the driver stayed at that location. Also in Clark County, the Sheriff's Office and Vancouver Police teamed up for a stolen vehicle operation on Friday, leading to the recovery of 4 stolen cars and 2 arrests. One of the people arrested was a robbery suspect, the other a drive-by shooting suspect. Detectives recovered a handgun and ammunition from their vehicle. Portland police are reporting a dozen arrests in the latest stolen vehicle operation in Northeast Portland. Saturday's mission was focused on the Parkrose, Argay, and Coley neighborhoods. Officers made 27 traffic and subject stops, one of which led to a brief chase of a van that ended with a crash. Well, it turns out that van was stolen and the driver was arrested. Police recovered 2 other stolen vehicles during the mission. 22 warrants were also served. Well, students in 2 school districts in the Gorge will finally be returning to campus this week after the devastating ice storm 2 weeks ago. Students in the Corbett district will be returning tomorrow. In a note to families, the district superintendent said all buildings now have heat, working plumbing, and sprinkler systems, and no standing water from busted pipes. Some classrooms will be without carpet for a few weeks as they wait for it to be replaced. Meanwhile, students across the river in the Mount Pleasant district will be returning to school on Tuesday. However, classrooms in the main building are still in need of repairs, so classes will be held in the cafeteria, gymnasium, and portable buildings. Some good news, district officials say asbestos testing came back negative, so repairs can proceed much faster. Well, to weather now, taking a look at downtown Portland, where it's 48 degrees on this late January night. Much of the area made it to the upper 50s, while we some spots in western Oregon pushing 70. Meteorologist Joe Ranieri is here and on cloud 9 after his 49ers punched their ticket to the Super Bowl. Joe, first of all, congrats on that big comeback win.
I am on cloud 9, and when I left, during the 5 o'clock show, I was like, oh man, this is over. I thought I'm gonna go home on my dinner break, talk to my son, let him know, like, hey, look, dude, sometimes our teams don't win the big games. You know what, John? I didn't have to have that conversation with him tonight, so I was pretty happy about that. But yeah, looking at our temperatures, some locations in the central and southern part of the Willamette Valley saw highs close to 70 degrees. Now, Eugene saw a high of 69, which is a record. Salem, another place that hit a record at 66 degrees. And again, a lot of locations, at least on the west side of the metro area, for the second day in a row, we're looking at readings in the low to mid 60s. 51 over at the Portland International Airport. Over in Tillamook, temperature of 64 degrees. At one point, Cannon Beach was clocking in at 67 degrees late this afternoon. That was a little after 5 o'clock. So we'll continue to see some mild conditions over the next couple of days. That includes tomorrow. Another mild day, temperatures in the mid to the upper 50s. But again, we could be seeing a few spots that hit 6-0 heading into your Monday afternoon. So we have a little bit of a weak disturbance that's going to be brushing on by, not so much tomorrow, but you can kind of see out here, it looks like a cinnamon roll out in the Pacific. That's the next front that's going to be moving onshore late tomorrow night and into early Tuesday, bringing in a little bit of some light showers. Again, rainfall amounts for Monday and Tuesday are going to be pretty bone dry. So far today, we've seen about 0.2 of an inch of rain. We're not going to be seeing much more than that heading into tomorrow or Tuesday. And again, we're looking at rainfall for the entire month of January, over 9 inches. By the end of this month, we could easily see rainfall amounts closer to 10 inches, which would put us about the 5th wettest January on record. I'll talk more about what you can expect to see in the next few days coming up in a few minutes.
All right, Joe, thank you. Well, we got a break mostly from that rain today, but the downpours over the last few days are still causing some problems out there. In Washington County, a number of roads are closed due to rising rivers and streams, including Glencoe Road just north of downtown Hillsborough. Parts of Rock Creek Boulevard, Sussbauer, and Fern Hill roads are also closed due to flooding threats. Well, if you encounter any waters on the roadway, remember, turn around, don't drown. Well, a heads up for drivers in northwest Multnomah County. Rocky Point Road is closed between Skyline Boulevard and Highway 30 because of this. The recent winter storm followed by heavy rains is causing some major erosion to the roadway. No word yet on how soon that road might be repaired. In Salem, a stretch of River Road just south of downtown is closed to traffic due to a landslide. City officials say 30 cubic yards of rocks and dirt came crashing down this morning. Well, this is a known slide hazard area, and the netting and fencing in place helps slow it down. The road will be closed until it can be cleaned up and the hillside can be analyzed for continued threats. And Amtrak services once again disrupted between Portland and Seattle because of another landslide in Philida. It's the third time this week in that same location. All trains are canceled until Tuesday. Amtrak is providing bus service for affected passengers.